Starts to just me coughing. The microphone. That's awesome.
We made it.
We did. We did make it. All right. Comments. People are here already.
Yep.
Oh, it is Andrew. As the Knicks, I got to do this in a cool voice. As the Knicks walk through the valley of the shadow of death, they fear no evil, for they are protected by God. Amen. Knicks are hot. Knicks are hot. I'll give you that.
Celtics are bad. So there you go. There's
Celtics
two
bad,
things that work in the favor.
Perfect storm. Celtics lost to Brooklyn because they were looking ahead to New York. They were playing musical chairs. The same musical chairs. It's time for Boston to face music.
Oh God!
Yeah,
they
Knicks
lost
are
to
This is
Brooklyn
what I
because
come
they're
into?
terrible.
Yes.
They lost to Brooklyn because they just gave up. They just stopped playing basketball for 3 quarters. It's a terrible loss.
Yeah, not great. Not great. And the Knicks, have the Knicks lost since last time they played the Celtics, or are they still on a win streak right
No,
now?
I think they're still on a win streak.
Let me do a quick fact check and see if Andrew beats me. Yep, they have now won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games in a row, including wins over Boston, Brooklyn, and Miami in their last 3. And you can say what you want about Brooklyn and Miami. It's not like they're playing the Rockets and Spurs. So decent wins for the Knicks getting up there. However, they are without Jalen Brunson tonight. And so I know it's going to be a Julius Randle makes Sam rip his hair out game. I know it's coming.
Julius Randle, who's not very good. That's what your eyes would tell you. Now, the box scores might tell you something else, but if you want like a prime example of like found money, just look at his game winner against the Heat. He's fumbling around for
Crazy
17
shot.
seconds and then hits a shot falling out of bounds to win the game. I have no idea how this guy continues to get lucky time after time and just continue to put the ball in the basket. I mean, he truly doesn't look like he knows what he's doing.
It's phenomenal.
He plays reckless basketball and somehow comes up hot every time.
Hey, I have no problem with him taking down Miami. That's fine.
I don't either. But I just feel like I'm watching somebody like put in parlays like every day and they just keep winning. Like it's like about time. Like the luck runs out.
Funny. That's funny. Andrew saying the last time the Knicks had 2 8-game winning streaks, they won the chip. I feel like there's some
It's a
other
very long time ago.
mutually exclusive things you can take from that season.
You know how sad that is?
It's a very long time.
You say that out loud, and like, actually, that's really, really sad. That means that they've never managed to put together 2 like streaks of 8 games in a row in the past how many years? Because the last time, like, I'm not even joking. Like, I know I said it before when we were talking about the Knicks on one of the pregame shows, either before the Nets or whenever, but talking about the Knicks, they literally haven't won a championship since like Vietnam. I'm not even joking. Like,
yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a really long time. That's not the
Madison Square Garden gets a lot of credit for a place where no titles are won. No banners hanging there.
Yeah, and I don't like this, guys. I don't know about you, but the Rob stuff is not comforting. I know Jack ended up having some information because he was on site there. What did Joe end up saying about that?
Jack's news.
Huh?
Your news is not good.
Well,
My news is not good? No, it's not my fault, though.
It's bad.
Yeah, Rob is not going to be playing tonight. Neither is Brogdon, for John, who's asking. Joe said the team told him 7 to 10 days-ish for Rob. It sounds like he's just dealing with a new thing that he hasn't really dealt with before, like a hamstring injury, which is not good. But Joe seemed like not too concerned. Like he said, like Rob's worked his way back from everything this season. I trust that he'll be able to do the same thing with this injury. Obviously, it's not great to miss him for 7 to 10 days down the stretch, but like Joe didn't seem overly concerned with the injury. So it sounds like it'll just be a matter of, we'll give him the rest. We're not going to rush him back. And then once he is feeling better, we'll bring him back up to speed. And so, he gave 7 to 10 days as the timeline for Rob coming back from the hamstring issue. Not going to see him for a little bit. Let's see. The East February player of the month is out. Jalen Brunson is out. That's going to be a big plus for the Celtics because Jalen Brunson's phenomenal. Also, just in case you're wondering, last time the Knicks won the finals was, in fact, in 1973.
Very long time. 50 years.
Yeah.
You take 10 years times 5, 50.
Wow.
Long time.
So long ago that they weren't even tracking steals and blocks. So There you go.
See, you had it ready to go. I was gonna say, let's talk about some things that weren't.
He's definitely kept that in his back pocket. He's got like a running document, just like a dossier.
I pulled a Basketball Reference and I don't see any steal or block stats, so that's how I know.
Did they have was that finals live or was it still on tape delay?
Oh God, I don't know. Who they even play in the finals? They beat the Lakers in the finals. So
good on.
Sounds about
good
right.
for you. There you go, Knicks. They
Lakers,
beat,
by the way, beating those fraud Warriors today.
Yeah,
Curry comes back and they lose. They red hot before that.
Anthony Davis, big game.
How do you guys feel about this in terms of how the team responded? Just their overall comments after the game. Do you think it's them just trying to put it in the rear view? Do you think they're just talking it down too much? What are your thoughts on that?
I think, what do you want him to say? I'm more mad about the loss than anybody. One of the most mad games I've ever had. Not happy. Hate that. But Tatum saying it's just one game. What do you want him to say? He can't really say anything there that's going to be change your life. He's either going to be wow, that was terrible, and then you have me who's saying wow, that was terrible. So essentially Tatum and I would be the same guy there. As a leader on that team, I guess that's what you want him to say. But that's one of those games where fans should be able to to throw stuff. They should be able to throw, maybe not glass bottles, but popcorn maybe. Something that's not going to hurt anybody, but just to get the message across. Maybe so they have to sweep it off the floor.
Stale pretzels.
Tatum said something we play too many games for me to worry about a single one. I understand it was bad, obviously, and stuff like that. And I asked Al Horford something like that after the Cavs game when they bounced back from the Knicks loss. I asked, Al, I was what do you tell the team after a tough loss like that going to this one? And I think it applies to the Nets game in a sense. Horford, he said, it's all perspective. Before that, we won a really tough game in Philly and beat a team that plays well in Indiana coming out of the break. So it was just one loss, and we felt it was important with the week that we have that we responded here at home. Cleveland's a good team, blah, blah, blah. So basically just it sucks that they lost to the Nets. That was arguably their worst loss of the season. You blew a 28-point lead, and then you lost by 10.
Worst loss in a while.
Obviously not good.
It's the worst since
perhaps beyond the season.
I think it's the worst loss since that Thunder game, because that Thunder game they didn't have SGA.
Ooh, that's a good.
Obviously not.
I forgot about it until someone mentioned it, and I was like, oh yeah, that's probably up there too.
But what you're saying, John, hate everyone's response. This is to me, it's saying you wanted them to be angry. What good does being angry do? If anything, in my opinion, if you're angry coming into this game, then people that are angry are just going to try to do it all themselves, and you're not going to be able to play the correct style of offense. If Jayson Tatum comes into this, Knicks game angry, maybe he just starts chucking because he's trying to do it all himself. I think it's very important you need to keep a level head. Exactly. I think it's important to keep a level head no matter what happens, even with the bad losses. And obviously, it's not they didn't talk about it. I guarantee you behind the scenes, they're obviously talking about the loss, but they're just not expressing that.
Well, you know what? It would have been really cool is if they got mad in the last game when they were blowing the lead, and then they got motivated during that. But after the game, I agree with you, Jack. Being mad, what does it do? If they're mad, talking to the press, that doesn't satisfy me as a fan that's upset. I don't care. I mean, it would be okay, I guess they're reacting the appropriate way, but I don't know.
Too little, too late.
It doesn't really make a difference. It's too little, too late.
Yeah. And that's about what I would expect for that starting five. I like that starting five, especially as Rob has more and more issues. Are you guys concerned, now at this point with Rob's stuff? I was already worried about him. I'm hoping that, it actually is a hamstring issue, just because I feel they're saying it's other things, but it's really just the knee giving more problems. So, what's going on, Lewis?
I'm not sure they can lie about that. Can they lie
well,
about
no,
that?
They can't. But at the same time, we
I
haven't really
lying.
Well, we haven't heard anything about Grant's issue. Grant was yeah, I've got an elbow thing, and then we've just never gotten any kind of clarification.
That's because it's fake. He's just I suck, but I don't want to admit it.
Wasn't he listed? Wasn't he listed as questionable with an elbow? Yeah, but then we never saw anything again about that.
I guess he's okay.
I don't know if he's
okay is relative.
Yeah,
but for the Rob thing, I if it is just a hamstring thing, obviously there are concerns with his overall prone to injuries, but this seems it's something different than the knee. And you could say oh, he wasn't perfect coming back from the knee issue, it is one thing, but Joe, like was Joe saying pregame, he was like he's worked his way back and was working on things on the court beforehand. So I'm confident that he'll be able to do the same thing with a hamstring issue. And at this point, I'd rather him sit out these games now, than in April. Like I'd rather him focus on getting this healthy and getting back on track now than not be healthy in May.
No, and I agree with that. I think that's a fair assessment. Ultimately, this is kind of why I wish they beefed up that center spot, like legitimately. I just think that like you don't really have anyone who can come close to replicating that sort of like rim runner. And I think the Cavs game is going to be a big test, right? Because if Horford's playing tonight, which he is, which means he's not going to play tomorrow. So you're going second leg of a back-to-back going against the freaking Cavs, like a very physical team that you've struggled against when you don't have the bigs. Like that's just going to be an issue, I think. What's going on, Tom?
Hello.
So
I understand. It's tough, but my other thing is like not to. I hate to say this because it sounds like I'm like saying the Celtics are better without Rob because they're not. Obviously the talent helps, but like let's not forget they were the best team in the league at the beginning of the season before Rob came back, right? Like they were far and away, Luke. Far and away the best team in the NBA at the start of the season when Rob was out. And I've said this multiple times. I really think Derek White in the starting lineup will help the Celtics offense so much. And yeah, he's going to miss playoff games and that happens. But, I don't think, like Tim, you say beef up at the trade deadline. And if that's, if this is like the Jakob Poeltl thing, like it's just not, I don't think like something like that was worth it. Like
that's a hat on a hat.
Exactly. Like there was nothing else around there worth it enough in terms of, trading it away or the value you'd have to give up to beef it up. And Muscala's fine and he'll step in. And I think the Celtics just have to go back to the style of play that they were playing at the start of the season when Rob was out, because that's, honestly, I've said it. I think that's when they're at their best anyways.
I think White helps their spacing a lot. I think that's just kind of a given. He's been great. Like, this is a career season for Derek White and such a massive improvement on what they saw out of him last year. So I'm hoping that we end up seeing him get some more minutes, because there's been times during games where you kind of wonder down the stretch, like, hey, maybe like they should have given Derek some more time here because he was in a rhythm. He's playing well. He is a really high IQ guy. Like when you talk about players in the league and talk about guys in the Celtics, he's one of their really, really smart, like basketball savvy players. But I'm wondering if there are any changes that happen, especially now with Rob. Like, if he's out 7 to 10 days minimum, do you see Derek? Derek, obviously is going to start, but I'm wondering who else gets some more minutes. Do you try and get Grant in the mix now? Does he get more run?
It could help his confidence, if anything.
I think they kind of need that
role
right now. You need him to get going mentally there.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
It would be nice if Grant remembered how to play.
That too.
I'm actually kind of mad I have to watch his team today. Like, I'm not looking forward to this. This is kind of a miserable thing. Like, Celtics been kind of bad since the All-Star break. Barely beat the Pacers, barely beat Philly. You're like 2 shots away from them being 1-3 since the break and all of us being real mad. Like, I'm mad as it is, but like Tatum doesn't tip the ball in versus the Pacers or knock down a 3 against Philly, that you're looking at a completely different story, and it's already not good.
That feels like the West Coast trip earlier when it was like, wow, like if they don't have this thing or this thing, they would have probably gotten swept on this road trip. So,
it's true. And
that was a turning point
of
in the season too, I think.
They still won those games, and at the end of the day, that's what it is. Like, you're not changing that, but
it's just not a pretty win.
Not pretty, and also not super reassuring when heading in, like, you were a little bit concerned, like they'd slowed down, like they're not as red hot shooting the 3, which is going to happen. You're going to slow down. But, like, just look at Tatum. Guy played 1 good game in February, and it was the All-Star game, which meant nothing.
Sam's mad.
I know. Honestly, stop signs, that's enough to make you, like, really scream at the wheel today. Especially, like, you're like, oh, man, I have to watch the Celtics today, too.
I think today should be a game where the Celtics get back to the drawing board. They get back to what has been working. They generate a good offense. And, not every game.
Should we say a prayer?
not every game is going to be like a big blowout. There's going to be rough patches in the season. It sucks that you have it coming out of the All-Star break, especially with the context of, Tatum played really well in the All-Star game, which also I understand you saying like, oh, he played well in this game. Let's not act like that was an actual fucking game. Like he's shooting around. Like this is not like Tatum.
Well, I'm trying to give him some
in the
credit.
All-Star game, right? But
I mean, he won the All-Star MVP. It's like the only thing he did all February.
Mm-hmm. But I think just rough patches happen. It sucks that the trend of blowing leads has come back to bite them time and time again. It's something that I don't know if it's going to be fixed this year. I don't know if it's ever going to be fixed, right? Like, because it's not like a new thing this year either. Like, it's been happening from coach to coach, from the Brad Stevens era to the Doka era. So I just think it's a matter of playing the right way on both ends of the floor and not getting bored with what works. And I think that's the key for the Celtics this year. And too often they do that, but all it's going to take for them, and this is an annoying perspective to take because you want them to win every game, but like, do I think the Boston Celtics can play the right way in 4 out of 7 games 4 times in a row? Yeah, I do. I still think they're good enough. And a rough patch in the beginning of March isn't going to change that. It just sucks to see in the we say second half of the season after the All-Star break them go on this little rough patch. But I guarantee you, like if the Celtics have a 3-0 week right now, no, like everyone should be like, oh, we're gonna get right. Like that's just ups and downs.
That's how it goes. That's our job during the season. We have to overreact as people talking about the team to make it interesting. Even though losing a 28-point lead is nothing to sneeze at. Pretty impressive. Worst collapse of the year. How about that? How many teams can say that? One. This one.
Just one.
Hang the banner. Biggest collapse, 2023.
Yeah, that one stung.
18 is so close yet so far away. Another thing I want to talk about, like, I think, obviously, I think it was Adam Jones who said it on radio, and I'm not like endorsing anything, like talking about how like why aren't the Celtics having a season the Bruins are having, right? And I don't want to talk about the specific comment, but like the Celtics aren't like a historically good team, right? And that's not me dissing the Celtics. Like there can only be so many, like the Warriors dynasty, that was a historic team, right? The big 3
and
Heat,
9,
if you want to call it. Exactly, like the big 3 Heat, if you want to call them that. That is like going to the finals 4 years in a row, historically good team. Like this Boston Celtics team may be one of the best teams in the league, but people in Boston, I think, have this expectation that every season, like if the Celtics are, good enough to be in the playoffs, then they need to be the championship team. Like if the Celtics are a championship team, they need to be one of the best teams in history, right? Like the Celtics are a good team. They are a championship caliber team, but like I'm not going to sit here and act like this is one of the greatest teams of all time because it's just not, right? And that's fine. Like it's just like they can be a great team and one of the best teams in the league and have a really, really good chance of winning a championship. But like, they're you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like people are treating them like this historically amazing team. They're not.
Well, I'm just like letting it simmer for a second because like the more and more I think about that take, like the more idiotic it sounds because like the Bruins are literally like on a historic, like a super historic. Like, are you on like?
They're
about to be
season.
The points leader. Like they're about to have like the most wins in NHL history, the most points in NHL history. So like you cannot compare the two. They're two completely different sports, two completely different teams at different points right now. So like that's just like a dumb comparison. Like gee, like that's like if everyone was like the Patriots went out and they had that 18-0 season or 16-0 regular season going on and losing in the Super Bowl, but like they went undefeated during the regular season. And then like imagine being like, well, why can't all the other teams in Boston right now do what the Patriots are doing? Like that's what you sound like, dude. Like you sound like a freaking idiot.
Well,
and this is true, Phoenix.
You should take this into account. This is correct, by the way. But Celtics were championship favorites before the season. I think they still are.
They're a great team.
It doesn't feel like they're playing like it. That's more of, I think, what the point is. People expected the Celtics to have a season closer to what the Bruins are having compared to the Bruins actually doing it. It doesn't mean that people thought the Celtics would win 73 games.
That's crazy.
That's what a lot of people thought they would. Like a lot of people are saying this team can win this. Like this Celtics team is a very good team.
I don't want them to win 70-something games because guess what happens at the end of the day? Like also, you run out of steam.
The JT thing is JT is a great player, right? Yeah, JT is one of the best players in the league. He has a chance to be one of the best players ever. But like when I'm talking about like a historical generational team, like we're talking to LeBron James, we're talking to Steph Curry, we're talking to Michael Jordan. Like
They're not
you
there
need
yet.
to be one of the top 15 players in the history of the NBA in order to lead a team, historically a generational.
There are people
team
asking if
in
Tatum's
that.
going to surpass Bird.
And I think
It's
I'm
a
not
real
saying
thing.
I'm not
I think
saying
he
he
can.
can't, and I'm not saying he can't even be like on the level of those players. But right now he's just like he's not yet, right? Like he's not, and I think a
Not
big
yet is
part
fair.
of, and I think
But
a big
when?
part of having one of those players,
At least
but when
one
he
title.
says the day after the 25th birthday, but I understand the expectations, and I think a big part of reaching those expectations and reaching those levels is getting over the hump. Because like you look at it, like took Curry a while to get over the hump of winning his first title, and then they came in. Took LeBron a while to get over the hump of winning his first title, and then they came pouring in. Right? Like I think that first title is almost always the hardest, and then once you get past the mental block of I need this, I need this, I need this, and then you can start having the thought process of a Steph Curry where it's like, okay, let's get through this regular season and then the playoffs are what matters. And you get through the playoffs and the regular season, the playoffs will matter. Bird is generational, exactly, yes. And I think Tatum has the talent to reach that point, but right now he's just not that yet. And because he's not that yet, the Celtics are not a historically great team. And again, that's fine. Like this isn't me complaining that they're not historically good. This is me saying like, I think people are treating it. They're seeing what the Bruins doing and treating it. You got to get a ring and be a killer and stop being so nice. Sure.
I ain't disagreeing with that. I mean, I'm not gonna knock it. I think Tatum's got a little bit of growth to do, and that's fine. I mean, he's still like you just said, Jack. Like he just turned 25. Like he's a very young player. His best years are still ahead of him. I mean, as as they're announcing
As
players,
the
I'm
team
assuming
comes on the floor without him, by the way.
So yeah, where was I? I think Tatum's gonna get there soon enough. I think he's great right now. I think when you start to have that conversation of like where it's solidly like, hey, he is most definitely a top 5 player. He's a top 3 player in the league. I think he's there, but there's probably some people that don't agree, or there's some shuffling there. Yeah,
sure.
I mean, exactly. If you're having that discussion of if he's borderline or not, then like he's not far away from being a generational talent for most people, like undisputably. Look at the records. Look at what he's been doing for the Celtics. Look at all the records he's tying. Like he's in the same breath as guys like Havlicek, Bird, Pierce. Like you've got McHale in there as well. Like there's a reason why he's constantly getting in the mix with those guys, and it's because he is a historic talent. He's setting franchise records like at least like once or twice a month.
So is he not good enough yet, or is he good enough? Because it feels like we're playing both sides of the fence.
I think he's on that cusp. Like I think he's going to have like he needs to finish off this season strong, and he needs to have that good playoff run.
My thing is, like I said, I think he has the talent to be that good, and I think talent-wise he might be that good, but we're ignoring the spam.
Can we get rid of that?
I didn't hit that.
Get rid of it. I was trying to get rid of it.
Mentally, I like I said, I think the hump of winning the first title like is a huge thing to get past, and I think, like I said, he has the talent to do that, but until he gets over the hump of the first title, like the 2014-15 Warriors, like they weren't a generational team, right? They were a good team that made a great run, and then they won the title, and then past that, once they got over that hump, and once they had that gel together, they won 73 games, right? Like you look at the Cavaliers, the LeBron Cavaliers, like they weren't a great team. The Heat team, obviously they had that. Like look at LeBron. He went to the Heat and they didn't win a title the first year. That's not to say LeBron didn't have the talent to lead a title team. He just hadn't gotten over that hump yet. And then the next year got over the hump, and then they won another time right in a row, right? Like so, I think getting over that hump is a huge thing, and having the NBA be so open as it is right now is a huge advantage for a player like Jayson Tatum, for a player like Nikola Jokic, for a player like Joel Embiid, right? All these teams are all these players that have the talent to be these generational, these historically great players, right? Like this is the year for them to get over that hump and start something, right? Like you look at all the players across history, right? Charles Barkley, all-time talent. Like, I'm trying to think of examples that, weren't on the Jazz. Steve Nash, all-time talent. Like, all of these great players who had the talent to be the best player on a championship team, they just never got over the hump. And I think that it's a big part of why we didn't, treat him that way. And I think Tatum has the talent and might already be on his way to being, at the very least, Charles Barkley, Steve Nash, or one of those players that didn't win. And getting over that hump will help elevate him into the conversation of a top 15, top 10, right? And
there's
I think
truth
that's
to that. And I think, to your point, the league being this wide open,
it's huge.
Is really like, all right, it's go time. So stop screwing around.
Yeah.
Figure it out. It's March now. Playoffs are about a month away. This is not the time to start shitting the bed. It's not. You need to start gearing up to play a team like Milwaukee, who, by the way, finally lost. Thank goodness.
I'm
You-
not putting that up there, Andrew.
You
I'm
need to
sorry,
just
I'm
be
not
ready
acknowledging
for the
that.
playoffs. This is not the time to just start playing poorly, and it's concerning until it's not. But he hasn't played well for about a month, and it's been inconsistent. Going into the playoffs, if you're going to lead a championship push, you need to have some sort of consistency, and this is not the time for him to fall off.
All right, I'm gonna read something real quick.
Go ahead.
Okay.
March 4th, 6 of 16 shooting. March 6th, 6 of 11, so bounce back. Next game, 3 of 9, 14 of 24, 4 of 15, inconsistent, 8 of 15, not bad. Then 5 of 14, 4 of 11, 4 of 17, right? So, like, the inconsistency is there. So, like, you got concerns. That's Steph Curry the year the Warriors won the title at the beginning of March. I just don't like overreacting to a tough stretch, right? Of course there are concerns. I'm not sitting here acting like there aren't concerns with the Celtics.
That's all I'm
Can't
saying.
be blowing. Of course, I know you can't blow 28-point leads. That's not good. It is bad. Like, slap on the wrist. Bad Celtics. That is bad. Address it. But let's not sit here and act like championship caliber players, MVP caliber players, like great players, don't have these rough patches at inopportune times. That is the year that Steph Curry won his first title, and that is. Like, tell me when I was reading those stats that didn't sound like Jayson Tatum in March.
It sounded exactly like
almost the
Jayson
same.
Tatum. I was gonna be like, well, that 14 to 24 games like not bad.
Exactly. So,
Like,
like,
that's actually not bad.
people go through rough stretches. What Tatum is happening right now, like, he's playing bad. I'm not saying Tatum's not playing bad. Of course he's bad. I just think it's important to have a wider general perspective that, like, even the greatest players have stretches like this where they're shit, right?
Yeah.
That's my thing.
I mean,
Yeah,
I would
it
say
doesn't mean the season's over, and
No.
we talked about this earlier in the show. Their reaction to the game was it an underreaction? Should they have cared more? Whatever. I think they had the appropriate reaction, but us as fans and media and outsiders, it's kind of like our job to look at every game and be like,
Of course.
"This is
And
what went
Tatum's been
wrong.
bad.
This is how I feel about it." And I'm not going to be happy with them blowing a 28-point lead when he gave
I'm
you
not
nothing.
happy either.
Yeah,
of course
but
I'm not happy either.
Well, I think like it would be different, right? Because like people are like, focusing on Tatum right now in terms of performance, and I'll do this right before Sam gets a pick in. But like if he shot like 9 of 23 or 9 of 24 or something like that, but they won and they won handily, like we wouldn't care. But because they blew a 28-point lead, which if he shot poorly from the field, it's not entirely on him. Like the whole team contributed to that massive choke job. So, yeah.
I don't know. I feel like you needed something from him late in the game. I mean, the team's storming back. You have a million chances to kind of curb it, and
Shouldn't have been
him
taken off.
and
the
everybody
game.
else did nothing.
It's not just
He's
the
been
Nets
bad
game.
for a while. He's
Yeah.
been bad for a while. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying
I think he re-aggravated the wrist against Indy, and that's been bothering him since then. Because he
I'm
needs
just
to
saying
drive to the
perspective
hoop.
is important.
Yeah,
That's all I'm saying. I'm
I
saying
agree with
perspective.
that.
Well, I'll tell you what. Someone that's been consistent, smash the odds. 5 of the last 6 have hit on the pregame show. You can follow him on Twitter for daily free picks on top of the show picks at Smash Odds. Subscribe to the premium service, get those premium picks, and make yourself a little bit of money as you watch some games. His pick, Knicks +7 tonight. He likes to spread. My pick, Knicks money line. These guys going to show me something before I start supporting them again. I am not happy. Not happy after that Nets game. Can't believe I have to watch this game today. And let's hope Tatum hangs 50 on him. Makes me look like a moron. But I don't have faith today. I think they might lose.
Looking at the line, I mean, to go to an opponent, Josh Hart over 10.5 is plus money. I don't think that's terrible. He's playing really well. Jalen Brunson out. He might have to take on a larger scoring role. I think Jayson Tatum rebounds is 9.5. It's high, but he's been soaking up double-digit rebound games. I think that's big. Jaylen Brown over 7.5 is plus money as well, so that's solid. And then the over 1.5 on threes isn't terrible either. Jarek White 1.5 is minus money. Grant Williams is no longer, or he is here. Grant Williams is
he's
half
back.
a three. If he hits a three, you get money.
Hit that over. Hit that over.
Maybe you take. It's worth the chance.
Is it plus money?
No, it's minus 190, so it's not great.
What about Marcus Smart assists?
Marcus Smart assist is sitting right at 5.5, minus 115. Not bad.
I mean, I would say he's going to get over 5 assists or 5.5.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, another thing, the Bucks thing. The Bucks are great right now, and I think it was Lewis mentioned like good habits should be developed by April, and I think a big reason why the Bucks have those habits is because like I said, getting over the hump and winning the first one is a huge part of mentality, right? And the Celtics got close. I'm not saying the Celtics didn't get far enough to win that, and so they should have. They should have. They should have some idea of what it takes. But like getting, it's just a mental thing. I think like getting over that hump and winning the title, I think just takes a huge mental ease off the players. And I think that's a big part of why you see the Bucks having these, winning tendencies late in the season, and the Celtics struggling a little bit. Like they're still showing the tendencies of a team that hasn't won it all yet. And like I said, there are. And also, this isn't a shot at the Celtics. I don't think there is a historically great team in the NBA right now, right? And that's fine. Like, there are periods in the league where that happens, and I think that's when you see those teams form and those teams arise from the ashes. Like if the Celtics win this year, who's to say they can't come back next year and have a 65 game win season, right? Like an example that obviously didn't work out. Look at the Suns. They get over the hump, they get into the finals, and they have a 60 game win season next year because they know what it takes. Right. Obviously, it faltered in the playoffs, and they have their own issues. But like after you see teams with this much success, you see them bounce back, and that hasn't quite happened for the Celtics yet. But I think getting over that hump is such a huge thing. And I'll say this too: perspective. Tatum wins the title this year. No one gives a shit about March. Nobody gives a single fuck about the month of March.
It's true. I agree. Do it, please. I'd love to never talk about this again. I'd love to say he's the greatest. I'd love to say he's 25, won a title.
Anyways,
go get 5 more. Like,
also,
you gonna do it?
25 is like, and I know it feels like a long time because he's been in the league for so long. 25 is still very young.
Bird was in the league for 3 years. Like he got so many extra years.
They did like an early draft of him too.
No, there's nothing wrong with him being 25. Like I'm not knocking him. I'm just putting in perspective. Like
Tatum
got in so early and he got so many extra years.
I thought you were saying like, well, Bird did it after 3 years.
No.
Bird was like 90.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
Even though he did, but that's neither here nor there.
Yes, but he also had 4 years of college. There's perspective. Anyways, game tips off in about 5 minutes. Anything else you guys want to say before we get on out of here?
I sure would like a win. Yes. Should be. Would love it. Be the greatest. Start winning again. Milwaukee lost yesterday. Imagine losing
big opportunity.
Imagine losing to Philly.
I mean, they've only got a half game now on the Celtics, so like that's
and
kind of
the people saying, I forget who said it a couple games ago. The people saying just give up. You're not catching the Bucks. Dumb.
Not catching them.
It was Jimmy
You're right there.
Who said that.
Exactly.
Right there.
Exactly.
See, like I like to complain, but at least I'm good at it.
Anyways, thank y'all for tuning in. We greatly appreciate it. New pod dropped today if you want to hear Sam and I complain about the Nets game. Also, since it is the month of March, we did a bracket at the end of the show. We ranked fast food chains. So we did a fun bracket for the last 20 minutes of the show. It was a good time. We gave our takes on the Nets game, the 3-point debate, Celtics offense, stuff like that. It was a good show. So go check it out there. Thank you guys for tuning into the pregame show. Check us out on Twitter. Those are below our faces. You can check out How About Them Celtics on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And make sure to subscribe to YouTube. We greatly appreciate it. We're 5 away, I think, from 300. So help us out there. But leave a like on the stream. Help the algorithm. Thank you very much. And we will see you guys 30 minutes before the next game, which is
tomorrow.
Back
2 days in a row, you get to see us.
We'll see you tomorrow then. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. What time did that game tip off?
7 o'clock.
All right, well, then we'll see you at 6:30 tomorrow right on the stream. Sam is not happy about the early tip. All right, we'll see you guys then. Thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you later. Bye-bye.
Cheers.